hope I'm not interrupting anything. I just got a message that our kids are in some kind of trouble at school.
And you came all the way to Brooklyn to talk about it?
No, not about that. Bart and I just landed at the airport back from our trip, and he proposed. And I'm going to say yes. I wanted you to hear it from me first, not from my daughter or your son.
Right, the people who actually talk to me.
Oh, if you're referring to the message you left me on Christmas Day, I didn't get it until we were already on the plane. It was very endearing, though.
But not enough to turn the G5 around.
You miss me. That's great. I miss you, too. What? You kissed me at Eleanor's party, and then you say you can't see me anymore because your wife came home, and then you call and say you should have never let me go, and then you're back with Allison again.
I didn't plan any of that.
That's just it with you, Rufus. You don't ever plan anything.
Well, I'm sure that your current plan will be full of private jets and five-star hotels.
Take care, Rufus.
So I have been talking about status incongruence and how it showed up in the show Gossip Girl. I have covered Dan and Serena in previous videos, and now I will be covering their parents, Lily and Rufus. So status incongruence showed up a bit differently in Lily Vanderwoodson and Rufus Humphrey's relationship because unlike Dan and Serena, they weren't teenagers, they were both grown adults with solidified standings in society. Lily was a wealthy Upper East Sider. She was a philanthropist, a socialite, and an art collector. Lily had an immense economic, social, and cultural capital, and she married into old money several times. She basically had deeply internalized class habitus. Rufus, on the other hand, was a down-to-earth Brooklyn native who used to be a rock star in the 90s, and then he became an art dealer. So while Lily represented wealth and status in the show, Rufus represented integrity and modesty. Lily liked her Birkin bags, her high society events and legacy, and Rufus liked his homemade waffles and his leather jackets and his music. They couldn't have been more different, yet they shared a deep affection for each other. Love kept bringing them back together, but their respective worlds intertwining was always a source of conflict and separation. The problem in their relationship seemed to be that Lily had affection for Rufus, but no true reverence or respect for him. And Rufus often seemed to have a chip on his shoulder, which was the same chip his son Dan Humphrey had on his shoulder when he was around Serena Vanderwoodson and other Upper East Siders. So the sociological concepts we will explore in this video that will help us understand Lily and Rufus's dynamic are those of habitus, hypergamy, and homogamy. Habitus was created and developed by the French sociologist Pierre Bourdieu, and it describes the ingrained, durable dispositions, habits, and tendencies that we develop from our social upbringing, and therefore shaping our tastes, perceptions, and actions unconsciously, linking social structures like class to individual practices without conscious thought. So in other words, habitus refers to our ingrained ways of acting, thinking, and feeling, shaped by our social background, making certain behaviors feel natural. Examples include a working-class person's comfort in informal settings versus an upper-class person's ease in elite social circles. So differing tastes also are included in that. Differing tastes in music, art, body language, different accents, and even career aspirations and how we approach health. So it's basically how social structures become part of our individual selves, influencing our choices and perceptions without conscious effort. Now, the concepts of hypergamy and homogamy help us understand the psychology of wealthy, legacy-driven women like Lily Vanderwoodson. So hypergamy refers to dating or marrying up, or in other terms, dating or marrying someone of a higher socioeconomic status. And homogamy refers to marrying someone of similar background, characteristics, or socioeconomic status. So I came upon an interesting study entitled Upper Class Romance, Homogamy at the Apex of the Class Structure. This study basically helps us understand why rich people marry other rich people. And according to this study, upper class individuals have a tendency for upper class closure, or in other words, how the upper class keeps the upper class upper. So the upper class is said to be more likely to marry partners in upper class positions, and this study also highlights a tendency for class homogamy, and according to researchers, a probable reason for this would be that individuals with similar class trajectories are endowed with similar dispositions which facilitate homogenizing experiences, mutual attraction, and sympathies. And another research from the U.S. Survey of Consumer Finances entitled Assortative Mating and Wealth Inequalities Between and Within Households, this study finds that individuals with high wealth are disproportionately likely to marry those with high wealth as well. So, another study on assortative mating and wealth inequality entitled Marriage, Assortative Mating, and Wealth Inequality basically indicates that matching on personal wealth and returns to wealth, which means investment returns, is particularly strong at the top of the wealth distribution, which can help explain basically why affluent spouses consolidate and grow wealth jointly. Now back to Lily and Rufus Humphrey and their difficulties in navigating their respective worlds. So although Lily and Rufus ended up married at some point in the show and they shared a life together, she ended up leaving him in season 6 and she chose Bart Bass, who was a billionaire tycoon and real estate mogul. So this shocked many viewers because it was such a realistic and typical depiction of status incongruence and how it can slowly but surely erode the love two people may have for one another. So in other words, that moment in Gossip Girl reminded us that love may not be enough in some instances. So this is the point where Lily fully re-enters the elite world with Bart Bass, and Rufus is essentially pushed out of the Upper East Side inner circle. And by the end of Gossip Girl, Lily seemed to be back with her ex-husband, Dr. William Vander Woodson, who happened to be an Ivy League educated medical doctor who already came from an affluent background. So the real question now is, why did Lily always find her way back to wealthy, affluent men? So I think it's simple. I believe it is because of the status congruence she experienced with this man. Lily did not choose Bart Bass because she loved him more than Rufus. She chose him because he allowed her to be herself, which is the version of her that seemed the most authentic and safest. There were risks attached to aligning with Rufus Humphrey in matrimony because he wasn't necessarily going to help Lily in multiplying or preserving her wealth and her legacy. With Rufus, Lily essentially experienced habitus clashes, lifestyle adjustment, and passion without safety. But with men like Bart Bass, for instance, there was no need to code switch to appease his ego or even suppress her authentic self. So this is why her nervous system relaxed with men like Bart Bass or William Vander Woodson, even though the relationship may have lacked passion. So in conclusion, I believe that Lily decided to leave Rufus because the concessions and adjustments she would have to make to sustain their relationship were compromising her core values, her identity, and her legacy. And I also believe that Lily and Rufus are an even stronger example of status incongruence compared to Dan and Serena in the show Gossip Girl.